Hello again, and welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World on a Friday. Happy Friday to everybody out there at the world of Prime Sports World. I'm David Huppin. Right there is Mr. TJ Hopkins. And if you're looking for consistent content on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, you come to the right place. We go live 6 or 7 times a week, bringing you the most up-to-date content. And since yesterday was the 100 days before the start of the National Football League, the start of the season, we decided we needed to fire up our season preview series. So we're going to do a season preview for every single team in the National Football League, and starting with the lowly Jacksonville Jaguars. I believe that we started with this team last year too, because they had the first overall pick, and I'm pretty sure we started with the AFC South last year when we did the season previews for this. So Jacksonville, congratulations on being winning, do it twice in a row. You have the worst record in the NFL 2 years in a row. Please like, share, and subscribe to the Facebook podcast. Appreciate it. I'm going to share the StreamYard link onto all of the places. So if you want to come onto our show, talk a little bit of Jacksonville Jaguar football, talk about what they might look like in 2022, please feel free to do so. I am David Huppin. Right there is Mr. TJ Hopkins. Happy Friday, man. I know you're probably a little sleepy, but how's it going, man?
I'm all right.
Yeah. If you're all worried about my foot, it feels a lot better today than it did yesterday. So,
good. That's good for you.
Yeah, slowly getting a little bit better. Not quite 100%, but I'm gonna go to the gym today, I think, and see, because so I haven't been to the gym in a few days, and like I've been like extremely bored with like nothing to do around my house. Like it's been kind of awful. Like I spend a lot of time at the gym, and like without having that gym time, I don't really know what to do with the time when I don't have it. So it's just one of those things. But yeah, let's talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. What are your expectations before we get into some of their storylines? Jacksonville Jaguars, what are your expectations for them in 2022?
I mean, obviously, you don't want to be the first overall pick in next year's draft, right?
I mean, that's quite the goal. That's quite the goal.
Where'd they go? 2-15.
Yeah.
So obviously, you want to win more than 2 games.
And you would like to finish the season with the same head coach as you came into it with.
Yeah, that we'll get into that.
Yeah.
So like they made a lot of bone head scratching moves. Like you made Christian Kirk one of the highest paid receivers in football. You made is it Zay Jones? Did they give Zay Jones too?
Yes, they did.
You paid Zay Jones a bunch of money. You made Trayvon Walker the number 1 overall pick in a draft where Aiden Hutchinson was a Heisman finalist, where there were dudes that overshadowed him on his own team.
Yeah, so we'll get into their draft here in a minute. We'll get into their free agency here in a minute. Let's get into some of their storylines. For my Jacksonville Jaguars, this team just don't be the first overall pick is kind of a good goal to have for 2022. Yeah, you should end this season with having the first overall and try to retain the same coach. Try to keep Doug Pederson for more than one season. 2022 storylines. Let's talk about the first one. How will Doug Pederson fare in his first season as head coach? We know how. I feel like we asked the same question last year about Urban Meyer. We know how that went, which was not good at all. Fired before the season even ended. What do you like? Doug Pederson, a former quarterback? He's one of those guys that was a big advocate for Carson Wentz, and he was the head coach of the team when Carson Wentz had that MVP season that he should have probably won. So what are we looking for with Doug Pederson for year 1 for Doug Pederson and tier 2?
Well, the thing with Doug, the main thing about Doug Pederson is, like you said, he is a Super Bowl winning coach.
Yep.
Right now, Jag fans, just because you have a Super Bowl winning coach doesn't mean that elevates you to some different kind of tier than what you're on. Like, no, you're still a bad team. He's just your coach.
Yeah.
So obviously, the norms, right? He's gonna know how to behave. He knows how to treat his players, right? He's not gonna go around kicking folks.
Well, you hope so, at least.
He's not gonna go around thinking, oh, I won 80% of my games at Ohio State. This should be easy, bro. Like, no. All right, like Urban Meyer literally told Vic Fangio that, oh, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Like, yeah.
No shit, right?
You're not playing Purdue every year. You're Purdue. God damn it! You're the NFL's version of Purdue. Rutgers, you're the bottom barrel. You're the team that everybody schedules to kick around so they can feel good about themselves for at least a week. All right. So Doug Peterson, he's gonna come in. This is another culture changer in Jacksonville. Again, this feels like the fifth one in 5 years.
Well,
Right?
until they get the head coach right, nothing else they do really is going to matter.
So yeah, they got so you're hoping Doug Peterson comes in to establish some kind of culture like that. Winning culture is not going to happen out the gate. Or it's just not going to happen. If anything, you bring in Doug Peterson to come in and mature those around him. You already know that because of his resume, he has more of a leash with ownership than say a Byron Leftwich would have had. We already know how that situation went down. And
that situation got messy real fast. But I do think they hired the right guy. I mean, this is the guy that, a Super Bowl winning coach. He has the pedigree of grooming young quarterbacks. And when you have the future of the franchise there with Trevor Lawrence, you need somebody who's going to be able to, really develop him. And I think Doug Peterson's probably the right guy for that. I mean, Byron Leftwich, as good as he's been for the offensive coordinator, I mean, he hasn't really been the offensive coordinator that developed the quarterback. Tom Brady, you don't get any credit for Tom Brady. It's kind of like the same conversation we have with John Elway, right? Like, he doesn't get credit for Tom Brady. Tom Brady was already established.
Yeah, Peyton Manning. John Elway. No, the biggest knock on John Elway is finding a quarterback not named Peyton Manning. And again, you don't get credit for Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning didn't have to go to Denver. He could have retired.
Yeah.
After that,
the same conversation can be had for Tom Brady, though. I mean, Tom Brady didn't need to go to Tampa Bay.
He'd have to go to Tampa.
He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's probably the GOAT, even if he doesn't win another ring. And will never retire. Like, he'll just keep playing until he's literally nothing left.
And that's also why you bring in Doug Peterson, which goes into our next storyline. We saw what Doug Peterson did with Carson Wentz, right? When everybody around Carson Wentz was healthy, the O-line was solid, his weapons were healthy. We make fun of Alshon Jeffrey all the time, but when he was healthy,
dude was good. The dude was good when he was healthy. He was real good when he was healthy.
So, like we said, Carson Wentz was 3 weeks away from winning an MVP. All right, he tears his ACL in the game against the Rams, and you already know how I feel about that. I feel like no matter what he did, because he didn't play for 3 weeks, that cost him the MVP. No, if he's the MVP at week 13, there's no reason to think he wouldn't have been the MVP. He should have been the MVP at week 16. That's stupid to me.
Well, Tom Brady did put up crazy numbers that season, so I mean, I guess it does make sense.
I get it, but he got it. He got it by default.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, Derek Carr, who was another MVP candidate, got injured in that same, basically the same week, almost. So,
right. Yeah. So it was I forgot what year that was. What was it? The Raiders go 12-4. They go 12-4. Derek Carr. I don't think he was going to win MVP, but he was going to win AFC Offensive Player of the Year.
He was certainly in the conversation for MVP because the Raiders were.
And he breaks his leg, and they get bounced in the playoffs because in the game he couldn't even play in. Yeah. But obviously, if you're Doug Peterson, obviously you're brought in to mold Trevor Lawrence. Again, crazy stat: Trevor Lawrence went 9 weeks, that's 2 months, without throwing a single touchdown pass.
Yeah, he went. So he threw for 3,600 yards last season. He threw 12 touchdowns and 17 interceptions. He basically went 9 weeks without throwing a touchdown in his rookie season. Really, because of how, I mean, his rookie season was pretty inept, but it wasn't talked about a whole lot because he didn't go to 9 weeks. So he threw.
It was bad.
Hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So over 10 weeks, he threw 2 touchdowns.
Okay, I shorted him a week.
But he did throw he threw a touchdown in that time frame. The longest he went without throwing a touchdown was 4 weeks.
That's still too long. That's a month. It's 4 games.
For sure. It's 100% way too long. But I'm just so he threw a touchdown. Oh, this is he threw a touchdown at the back end in week. What is it, week? What is this? I can't even do the math right now. It's towards the back end. Last week in November, he didn't throw another touchdown until that first Sunday in January. So a straight up month where he didn't throw a touchdown in the game.
Right? And I reiterate, right?
He threw 7 interceptions in that time frame.
Critics killed Justin Fields for bad play. They killed Zach Wilson for being in and out of the lineup. But Trevor Lawrence literally was able to coast for a whole month for not throwing a touchdown. Right? Like, I have a huge issue with that.
Well, I think it's because, Justin Fields is Trevor Lawrence is like the quote unquote golden boy, right? He's the chosen one.
I'll get into that, right? Right. I'll get into that. Like, Trevor Lawrence was pegged QB1 from the minute he stepped onto a high school football field. Right? Whenever he stepped onto a high school, he was pegged QB1. He was next. Right? To Davis' point, he was the golden boy. He's gonna be the next golden goose, the next face of the NFL, all that good stuff. That face of the NFL stuff is exaggerated because as long as Pat Mahomes is throwing dimes and Josh Allen and Josh Herbert and Joe Burrow is still, out there, that title's gonna be up for grabs. But yeah, he's the number one I don't know if he got the pass because he's the number 1 overall pick. But
he ended up in Jacksonville, which isn't exactly the cream of the crop when it comes to the NFL. Like they're not exactly like they're the reason that they picked number 1 overall 2 years in a row and a bunch of times in the last 10 years.
But nonetheless, like obviously, if Trevor Lawrence doesn't go a month without if he doesn't repeat that again, like it's a win. That's a win.
Well, I mean, if he throws more touchdowns than interception, I think that's a big win for Trevor Lawrence in year number 2. But we just have to see him go through his progressions a little bit more.
One of the things that we failed, or one of the things that I think they talk about saying it's different, right? Like Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, hell, even Joe Burrow, right? They're so used to at Alabama, Jalen Hurts at Alabama, then at Oklahoma. Like they're so used to just throwing to guys that are just wide open all the time, right? Like that first taste of the NFL where it's like, hey, that DB on the other team is just as fast, if not faster, than my starting receiver, and I have to throw him open. Right? I can't just wait for him to get open. I have to throw him open. Right? Like Justin Fields got killed because he said practicing against the Bears defense allows the game to slow down for him. And they're like, what was it? The game leading into the game against the Browns, he got sacked 9 times. And they're like, oh, I guess the game's must have been real slow. I'm like, well, how many defenses have Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, and so on and so forth on them, right? You got to keep in mind, in practice, he goes against, at the time, Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, Robert Quinn, Roquan Smith, that linebacker. Like, that's a solid defense to go against in practice, right? So Trevor Lawrence coming out of Clemson is so used to throwing dudes like, hey, all right, I already know that guy's gonna get open. He's gonna get open. I'm just gonna sit back, call my wife, no, I threw to you last. I'm gonna go this way, right?
And not to mention, a lot of those reads are pre-snap reads in college, and so you're already predetermined. Most of that's already predetermined where you're gonna throw the football before the ball's even snapped. But that's not the case, and that's not the case in the National Football League. You actually have to throw.
And on top of that, they don't disguise defenses in college the way they do at the NFL, right? So you can come to the line in the NFL thinking this and man, and all of a sudden it's a drop 2, cover 2 zone, right? Or vice versa. So Trevor Lawrence, obviously, you just want him to get better, right? Provide an environment for him to thrive in, because again, Justin Fields, they went through the same thing. terrible environment, terrible growth. Like there was no way for them to get better in that situation.
Yep.
And having this college teammate Travis Etienne in the backfield is definitely going to help with that.
So we got a couple comments here on the show. We got David Henderson who said the coaching staff failed Trevor Lawrence. I'm showing his comment right there on the screen.
Yes, they did.
I would tend to agree with the coaching staff did absolutely fail Trevor Lawrence last season. They did not put him in positions to win the football, play winning football. But that also goes to Urban Meyer, horrible NFL coach and kind of a scumbag. I'm not going to talk about him as a person. I don't really know anything about him. But as an NFL coach, that was a disaster, as bad as it could ever be.
That was terrible. Like the coaching staff absolutely failed Trevor Lawrence. Just like it is what it is, right? And again, having Travis Etienne back is also, it's like, yeah, you're glad to have him back, but you also kind of got to feed him with a long-handled spoon because you're a running back. You're also a smaller running back, and you haven't played NFL football yet. So that's going to be a quote-unquote culture shock to you, too, when you realize that, hey, that edge rusher beat me to the spot that I'm supposed to get to, and this ain't college where I can just outrun the edge or outrun the linebacker, right? Like
I think Travis Etienne kind of knows that. I mean, he benefits by the fact that running back seems to be
you know that, but you still got to play.
True.
Right?
And the conversion from from college to NFL seems to be easiest for running backs. Like they seem to make the transition from the college game to the NFL game easier than maybe some of the other positions in the National Football League.
Unless you Trent Richardson.
Obviously, yeah. I mean, there are some exceptions to the rule, obviously, because there's been a lot of Curtis Enuses of the world or Rashawn Salam who never really worked out in the National Football League. Like there have been obviously exceptions to the rule, but Travis Etienne, after missing his entire rookie season, James Robinson, I think, still recovering from an ACL tear towards the end of the back end of the last season. Too. Yeah, so he's still kind of in the rehab. Achilles, actually, sorry. So he's resumed running, and I do not expect him to have a Cam Akers type rejuvenation where he's just going to come back way sooner.
I think that's the anomaly.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Like, people don't recover from Achilles tears in like 6 months. Like that just doesn't happen.
Like now, again, I talk about the advancements of medical science all the time, right? It's still a miracle if you start with putting an O-line. Well, yeah, obviously, like it starts up front. I say that all the time, right? They say the quarterback is the most important position in football. It is, but the quarterback can't do his job if the guys up front can't do theirs, right? True. If you don't have an O-line, you ain't got nothing.
But they have done a good job, I think, during like this offseason. We'll get into their offseason a little bit later, but like when it comes to their free agency, I mean, they re-signed Cam Robinson. They gave him they franchise tagged and they came to a long-term extension. They brought in Brandon Sheriff, who's a good right guard. Juwan Taylor and Walker Little are going to compete for that right tackle position. Like they've done a decent job building up this offensive line, and then they have put some weapons on the outside. I mean, say whatever you want about the contract they gave Christian Kirk. He's a good football player, and it should be productive this season. And then Travis Etienne, I think having that that safety valve for Trevor Lawrence is going to be good for this offense. Let's swing into from their storylines to their draft. So they took number 1 overall. They took Trayvon Walker. They traded back into the first round and took in Devin Lloyd. They took Luke Fournette, the center out of Kentucky, who's projected to be the starting center for this team. Chad Muma, linebacker out of Wyoming. Snoop Connor, running back out of Ole Miss. Gregory Jr., defensive back out of Ochewita Baptist. Man, I've never heard. Who knows?
Like a D3.
Yeah, and then Monterey Brown, another cornerback out of Arkansas, to rebuild up the secondary, because it was one of the worst secondaries in the National Football League, even with Shaquille Griffin on this roster. So what do we think about their draft? Let's talk first about the Trayvon Walker decision. I've been on the record that I said I wouldn't have made that decision if it was the best for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I would have probably gone with something I thought was more of a sure thing, because Trayvon Walker has a lot of question marks, and the fact that he just flew through the draft process, all of a sudden this guy went from a fringe first round pick to the first overall pick in like under a month. I don't necessarily like it. I think I would have gone with the kid from Oregon, Thibodeau, Kayvon Thibodeau, I would have gone with Aiden Hutchinson because I feel like there's less question marks around those two guys as opposed to Trayvon Walker. And I'm not even sure the ceiling for Trayvon Walker is higher than those other two guys. I just don't know.
They stay bringing up because obviously, like, you know, because of his position, he's compared to those two dudes, right? Kayvon Thibodeau, Aiden Hutchinson. For his career at Georgia, the 3 years he was there and played, it was he finished with a career number of 65 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, and 9.5 sacks. Aiden Hutchinson has that in a season, right? That's his guy's career.
But I also think that Georgia was doing like more of a rotation, so you know those guys didn't play heavy snaps as opposed to like Aiden Hutchinson who was on the field every single play. But I think that's the guy I'd rather have, right? I'd rather have a guy who was on the football field a ton. You think you're going to be swapping out players every possession in the National Football League? No, you're going to be playing like 60 plus snaps every single game. Yeah, so I don't know. I also probably wouldn't have traded back into the first round to get Devin Lloyd. I think you could have stayed pat and kept your second round pick in order just to wait for Devin Lloyd. I think you could have gotten him there. But as TJ likes to point out, if there's a guy you want, don't wait for him because he may not be there.
Go get him. Don't
and
wait.
This is a team that lost Miles Jack in the offseason, so they're
So yeah, go get him.
And David Henderson makes a good point in the comments. Should have drafted a few offensive linemen, a few more weapons for Lawrence. I totally agree with you on that. I think this should have been a offense. I know they drafted a center in third round, but I would have liked to have seen them do a little bit more with this offense, like get more offensive linemen, because you can never take too many swings with the bat. Like I would have probably not even bothered with Snoop Conner, the running back out of Ole Miss. I probably would have tried to address offensive line or even tight end or wide receiver in this draft.
Because this is like the third year in a row we've had a deep wide receiver. We've had a deep wide receiver draft.
Yeah, and thanks, David Henderson, for your comments. I appreciate it, man.
Very much. So other than that, like the Trayvon Walker again, that's the head scratching pick of the. It's like you said, right? Where did it come from? Where did him going number one overall come from? All right, like for weeks on end, it was it started off as Kayvon Thibodeau at 1, and then the 2 old linemen kept flip flopping. What was his?
You're talking about Evan Neal and Ike Ekwonu. We're talking about
Evan Neal was first overall for a couple weeks, and then Ike Ekwonu was mentioned first overall. Then all of a sudden, here comes Aiden Hutchinson, first overall, and then the draft, literally 2 or 3, maybe a week before the draft, rumblings about Trayvon Walker going up at number 1. He must have absolutely killed it at his pro day.
Yeah, it's true. It must have, because he literally jumped through it was insane, his meteoric rise through the draft process. But yeah, I don't necessarily love. I know they lost Miles Jack. We'll talk about their free agency here in a couple of minutes here. But I think Devin Lloyd is something I probably wouldn't have done. I probably would have stayed with those second round picks and used them on offensive linemen and wide receivers to try to give Trevor Lawrence some weapons. Because if we look at their depth at the wide receiver position, I mean, they got Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones, Zay Jones, Laviska Shenault has been a little bit of a disappointment in the National Football League. People thought he'd be better than this. He caught as many touchdowns as you and I last season.
Is he?
Yeah. I actually think they're going to use Laviska Shenault in a more of a Deebo Samuel role this season. But I said I said that last season. It didn't really pan out that way. But Laviska Shenault, he's got all the intangibles to be a really good wide receiver. And then Laquan Treadwell, is what it is. Yeah. But yeah, the offensive line, you're looking at it on paper. I mean, it's actually looking like a solid group. I mean, Ken Robinson, Ben Bratch, Luke Fortner, Brandon Sheriff, and Jawan Taylor. So I think they did a good, outside of the head-scratching Trayvon Walker, their draft's okay. I think they did an okay job with drafting some of their needs. They lost Miles Jack, so they needed a linebacker to replace him. Probably not going to have James Robinson at the beginning of the season, so Snoop Conner makes some sense. But yeah, moving on to free agency, this is where the biggest roster shakeup kind of happened. Their major additions are Christian Kirk, Brandon Sheriff, Foshad Olikwanu, he is a run-stopping defensive tackle. Darius Williams, cornerback, they took him from the Rams. Foley Fatusaki from the Atlanta Falcons. Zay Jones, wide receiver. And then they got Evan Ingram on a one-year deal. Had a pretty good deal for $9 million for Evan Ingram. Good tight end to surround Trevor Lawrence. With key departures, Miles Jack, Andrew Norwell, who's a guard, and DJ Shark, who was a wide receiver who played for them last season. So what do you think about their free agency, what they did here? And they also signed some of their old guys back. I mentioned Cam Robinson already, but Cam Robinson was a big one, a guy they brought back.
Cam Robinson was one of those dudes where it's like, if they didn't re-sign him, he's gonna have a big market, right? Teams are gonna come after Cam Robinson, but Evan Ingram, I look at that signing like if there was ever a dude not named Daniel Jones that needed out of New York, it's him.
Yeah, true. It's true. But yeah, one year, $9 million deal. I mean, he gives them a reliable tight end that they can play because they haven't really had one.
No, they tried to kick the tires on
Daniel Arnold, but that didn't really work out.
Yeah, it was him and somebody else like a year ago. He's been had some concussion issues. What is his name?
Oh, you're talking about his name is totally escaping me. Don't
you know who I'm talking about though, right?
Like, yeah.
But yeah, like that obviously didn't pan out. The rest of the NFL, like the owners, like they're looking at him, like they're looking at the Jags, like, bruh, you paid Christian Kirk all that money and he couldn't even get to 1,000 yards, right? Like, so now the folks that are like, now the sub tier wide receivers are gonna be like, well, Christian Kirk got X amount of money and he look at the yards he put up, right? So now it's like some receivers take pride in being that 1,000-yard guy, right? And if I'm Christian Kirk, and if you're looking at Christian Kirk, like there was not a reason for him not to get 1,000 yards, especially with the offense that he came from and the team that he played for and the weapons that was on that team, right? Forget the DeAndre Hopkins injury, right? Like that should open the door for you even more. Right, because a healthy DeAndre Hopkins commands two dudes, so you're one-on-one. Right, like you're what the people think of AJ Green is what they think of him. You traded for Zach Ertz, James Conner coming out the back. Like there was no reason for you to not finish with 1,000 yards. No reason at all. Brandon Scherf, new environment, less toxic. And sure. That's sad. That's sad that we're even saying that, considering what the Jacksonville Jaguars were this past offseason, but coming from what Washington is dealing with, yeah, you're just happy that the fans ain't storming the building no more, bro.
And Brandon Scherf is one of those underrated guards who's a really good football player. He's a really good football player. Like he's been in multiple Pro Bowls. Like he should be given this stability on that right side of their offensive line at right guard. Like is because he's what you call a tone setter.
He's what you call a tone setter on the offensive line. Like that's what he does. They could have you're right. They could have gotten two solid young receivers in this draft. You are absolutely right. For the free. And
I'm for sure not sold on Zay Jones and Christian Kirk as a number one. Christian working for sure. Zay Jones basically has bounced around the league. He's been a bust, and now he's
but all I heard about Zay Jones in Vegas was like, first one in, last one out. His work ethic was praised.
Yeah, right? now it is, right? It's like
his work ethic was praised, but at the same time, the issue with that is I forgot who did they play. It was a Monday night game. I think it was at Buffalo. It was a Monday night game. They went to OT. I think they ended up winning that game. Zay Jones was great. It's like Zay Jones is great this week, not so great the next week. Worse.
That's literally been his entire career. And looking at the departures, I mean, Miles Jack is a pretty big loss. Andrew Norwell is a starting guard for this team. And DJ Shark was a good receiver last season, or maybe not last season, but the year before he was very good.
Miles Jack don't get enough credit because Miles Jack has spent the last 2 years in Jacksonville, and he only had one good year. Right, the Jacksonville year, like that was it.
Yeah,
that was it. Like it was It was suck. AFC Championship,
Stink.
sucking again.
Yeah, terrible again. And I do like the Darius Williams sign. The contract's not bad. 3 years, $30 million. You put him next to Shaquille Griffin. That's actually a pretty solid 1-2 at the cornerback position, which makes the drafting of like 2 corners in this year's draft a little more head scratching too. If you already spent the money on the cornerback position, use it on a tight end or a wide receiver. Try to get some more depth at this position. Like
Usually
as David Henderson pointed out, I mean, they could have taken 2 solid young receivers in the draft. They chose not to. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Especially if you're going to bring in.
They're probably like depth moves. You get what I'm saying? Like it's like you can't
never have enough corners because they get hurt a lot, and
So that's probably what that was. So I don't have that issue. Doesn't that's not really an issue to me. Like again, that's a lot of faith you're putting into Christian Kirk and Zay Jones to produce, because you know what they're gonna say when they don't show up, right? Like, this is who you gave money to.
Yeah. Like, this is who you roll the dice with. This is who you're rolling with. But I think they did it like based on Jacksonville's not exactly a destination. Like, if you want to get somebody to come to your team, you almost have to overpay, right? Like, Jacksonville's not a destination. Like, you almost have to overpay to get Christian Kirk to come there. You almost have to overpay to get Brandon Sheriff to come there. You almost have to overpay to get Zay Jones to come there. Like, people aren't coming to Jacksonville, even with the allure of a Trevor Lawrence being there and potentially catching touchdowns for the next it man in the NFL. Like, I still think.
I would say winning cures all, but you look at a team like Green Bay, they win 12 games a year. They can't get free agents either. So
it's cold there, like 90% of the time. So people don't want to play where it's cold. And Jacksonville doesn't have that problem. It's beautiful year round.
But you're not, and you're also not winning. So like Jacksonville is one of those places where it's in Florida. It's like, hey, the Jags suck. I don't want to waste my money to go to the Jags. Yeah, I'm gonna go do something in Jacksonville that's fun. Whatever they do down there, that's for fun, right? I don't know how close Jacksonville is to the water, but that's probably where they're going.
It's in the middle of the state. It's not like beachfront property.
Right. They got lakes. I'm pretty sure they got lakes. They probably got lakes. They got boats.
They're full of gators and stuff, but it's fine.
They got lakes. They can find something to do. It's one of those things.
It is close to a beach. It is pretty close to the ocean, actually.
All right, cool. But like, it's one of those things where like it's one of those things where like you can't have expectations for them. Right? Like, just go into the season hoping that you win more than 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you don't have the first overall pick, and hopefully Trevor Lawrence takes a step forward, and you have your same.
Like, if 2-15 turns into 6-11,
that's a win.
That's a win.
That's a successful season for the Jacksonville Jaguars, for sure. And I think that'd be good enough not to have the first overall pick. So let's get into their schedule and make some predictions here. So let's talk about their first week of the regular season.
They're not going 6-11.
Hey, man, they might. Don't be so close-minded. Their first game of the season, they go to the Washington Commanders to take on the Washington football team. How do you think that one's going to shake out there for Washington and going up against the Washington Commanders?
Well, again, one of the toughest front sevens in all of football belongs to Washington, right? Haven't heard much of Chase Young since he got hurt, so we don't know where he's progressing with that injury.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get to the Washington season preview. I mean, he is.
But even then, it's still Montez Sweat, Jonathan Allen, Matt. Is Matt Ioannidis still there? No, he's gone.
I mean, they got Jonathan Allen. They got Montez Sweat. They got the
Devon Payne.
Yeah,
right. It's still formidable without Chase Young. I think this is also Carson Wentz's first time facing Doug Pederson since they both left
100%.
Philly.
Yep.
So Jacksonville has that going for them. Like, who knows him better than Doug Pederson, right? Who knows? Like, he knows how to get under Carson's skin. He knows how to make him tick. The issue I have is you're asking Trevor Lawrence to pretty much outduel Carson Wentz in a very tough place to, like, Washington's a tough place to play. Like that FedEx Field, like that's a tough place to play.
Yeah.
I think they start this season off with an L. Would I be surprised if they stall this one? No, but they gonna lose. To me, they're losing to me.
I agree with you. I think that they're just gonna. I think that front four for the Washington football team, or the Commanders now, if it was what they called, I think it's gonna be too much for Jacksonville. So give me.
Just not liking that name. You just don't.
It's not good. It's not a good name. It doesn't shorten well. Like they might as well just stay in the Washington football team. At least that was catchy. Like, oh, we're the Washington football team. I thought it was fine. The Commanders, it's trash. It's so bad. We'll talk about it when they get to their season preview. And then the next week they welcome in Indianapolis to sunny Jacksonville. Do they upset? Did they beat Matt Ryan? They go up against two quarterbacks who were essentially they were traded for each other.
Yeah. No, I think this is a Colts team that the Colts their season, we'll get to it. Their season go one of two ways. Right? They can either fold under the immense pressure that Jim Irsay is putting on them himself, or they can respond to that pressure because, again, they were one game out.
Yeah, they win one game and then they go to the playoffs. I mean, this is a team that when me and Christian used to talk about Indianapolis, we thought they could compete for a Super Bowl, and they didn't even make the playoffs.
And one of the games that they could have won last season was against this same Jacksonville Jaguars team. All right, like you beat them, you're in. Literally win and in. All right, so you got to go. Like the Colts have to be going into this game with that on their mind. All right, like damn it, we let one get away.
Well, I think they're lucky enough that this isn't the first game of the season, so that mindset should be hopefully gone by then, as long as they win week one. I haven't looked at Indianapolis' schedules yet, so I don't exactly know who they play in week one.
No, it's not there. Like some of the dudes on that team tell me, like, no, like yeah, it's a new season, but at the back of their mind, like, damn it, this is the one they got away.
And but I'm going to take Indianapolis to win this game. I just think the Colts are going to be really good next season. Like Matt Ryan is an upgrade over Carson Wentz, so look for him to establish some sort of. I also think the Jacksonville Jaguars lose the next game too, where they go to Los Angeles, take out the Chargers.
They legit might start 0-3, man. Like that.
I think that 0-3 start trickles into Philadelphia too. I think they go to Philadelphia and lose. I look for Philadelphia to kind of run the ball pretty well. Even though low key, I think Jacksonville's going to have a pretty good run defense next season, based on what they did in free agency. But I have them going 0-4 with losing to the Los Angeles Chargers and the Philadelphia Eagles in back-to-back games. 4 in a row they lose.
I can see them winning this one. They won't, because outside, I think Philly can hide Jalen Hurts' shortcomings enough to get this win, right? Like the team around Jalen Hurts is better than the team around Trevor Lawrence, right? He's throwing to A.J. Brown. He's throwing to Dallas Goedert at tight end. So yeah, they start on for
Smith. But I wouldn't. I actually think Jacksonville's going to have a much improved defense. Like I think their run defense is going to be pretty solid. I look at their corners. I'm like, yeah, this is actually a defense that could be solid next season for the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's just the offense can catch up. And then they go to Houston, or then Houston comes to Jacksonville. This is where I think they get their first victory. I think they're going to beat Houston in Jacksonville to get their first win of the season. So give me they get off the schneid in week 5 where they beat the Houston Texans.
Absolutely, I agree.
And then they go into Indianapolis, and unfortunately, the losing starts up again, where they fall to the Indianapolis Colts in Indy. I just don't see a way they can win that game.
Me either, man. Like it's again, like you're not going. I mean, obviously you want to win, but you're really going into this season hoping to see major improvements from everybody around you, especially Trevor Lawrence. And going into that game, the Giants come to Jacksonville. I think I think they lose that one too.
Are you talking about the Giants? I actually disagree with you.
Yeah.
I think
you just hate Daniel Jones. That's
The Giants.
That's
The
all
Giants.
over.
No, maybe it's an anti-Christian thing. No. I'm just
You
kidding.
just hate Daniel Jones.
No, dude, I don't. I just look at Jacksonville. I look at the way they're built. I mean, I think they're going to be better than the Giants next season. I also don't think Daniel Jones is the answer at quarterback. So that's neither here nor there. But what I think about
It's
him,
completely here or there. You
I,
don't like the dude.
I thought I don't like him. I just don't think he's a good quarterback. I think him as a human being, he's probably fine. He probably does a lot.
One or another half dozen the same. Whatever.
Jacksonville Jaguars get their second victory. Look at the defense that potentially Jacksonville's going to be rolling out. I think it's built to stop the run. It's built to stop the pass. They're going to have a better defense than people predict next season. I think they give Daniel Jones trouble. Give me the Jaguars to get their second victory, 2-5.
Fine, whatever.
I mean,
they're losing to Denver.
They are losing to Denver, even if this game is in London and technically a home game for the Jaguars. They're still not going to beat Russell Wilson and Denver Broncos.
No, they're not. And do they beat the Raiders?
No.
No?
No.
No?
Come on, dude. No. Of course not. What a silly question.
Bro, who gave them the schedule? Like,
and then they go to Kansas City, and this is where they get their third win of the season. No, of course not. This is where they lose again. They fall in 2-7 before they go to their bye. Yeah, their schedule's rough. The only
2, 3, 4.
Sorry,
5.
2-8.
Those are 5 playoff teams. The Chargers didn't make the playoffs. No, they did. No, they didn't.
Yeah, so they're 2-8 going into their bye week. They come out of their bye week and they face on the Baltimore Ravens. This game is in Jacksonville. Who do you think comes out victorious in this game? Do I even need to ask?
Pissed off Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, pissed off Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. I'm back on that train. Like we get a pissed off Lamar Jackson. Like let's go.
I'm agreeing with you. I think they take the L against Baltimore, and then I think they go to Detroit. And I think they get another W here against Detroit. I'm gonna.
Why?
I just think that Jacksonville's going to be better than Detroit next season. I just look at the way the two teams are built, and I'm going to have a little more faith in the Jacksonville Jaguars than Detroit next season. So give me
the amount of disrespect.
How is it disrespect? I have the Jacksonville Jaguars winning 4 games.
How are you? No, you literally just said you expect Jacksonville to be better.
Yeah.
Than Detroit.
Yeah. I mean, not a lot better, but just a little bit better.
You said that with a straight face.
I mean, not a lot better, just a smidge better.
What is wrong with you? Again, like the Giants game, like get like and I get this one too because like let's not act like you're the biggest Jared Goff fan either. You are a proponent of Detroit drafting the quarterback at number 2.
Not number 2. That's second.
32.
Yeah, at 32. I had no problem if they wanted to take a swing on a quarterback at 32.
You are out of your mind. You are insane.
I think in one game, Jacksonville I think can beat Detroit in one game. Then they go to Tennessee and they lose. They go back to the losing ways and they fall to 3-11. 3-10 in my predictions, and then they welcome in the Dallas Cowboys into Jacksonville, and I think this is where they take their 11th loss of the season, where they fall again.
I actually think they win this game.
You think they win this game against Dallas?
Yeah.
You think this is one of those trap games where Dallas is kind of
this strange trap game? Right,
I could see it. I actually kind of almost thought about it, but I'm like, nah. I think Dallas is going to be. I think Dallas, but to be frankly honest with you, Dallas may not need to win this game at this point because of how easy their schedule is and how much of a joke their division is. Like
that division is a joke.
It's real.
Their division is a joke. Oh my god! And then they go to the Jets. We get that 1 versus 2. Yeah.
I know again for the second year in a row. Actually, did we get robbed of that last year because of Zach Wilson's injury? I don't remember.
I don't think Zach Wilson was there for.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head. It wasn't memorable, so it must not have been anything worthwhile to remember. But I actually think that Jacksonville gets the fourth win here. They beat the Jets, even though this game is in New Jersey. I still think the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to win the game.
I think whoever gets the ball last wins the game.
Yeah, I can see that too. Then they go to Houston, and I think Houston, this is where they kind of split this season series between the Houston, and these teams are going to probably compete for the first overall pick when it comes to Houston and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So give me Houston to win this game and split the season series with the.
So you got them splitting with Houston. Okay, I don't hate that.
Yeah. And then the final week of the season, they welcome the Tennessee Titans into their house in a game that Tennessee may not need to win either. But let's just say that they both have to play their starters and they both need to win. I still think Tennessee comes out with the victory. So I have Jacksonville finishing the season 4-13 after all said and done. 4-13, 2-win improvement over last season.
I'm going back to that Lions game, but like, you are just so disrespectful with it, and you are just not even you ain't even hiding, you ain't even shading it, bro. Like you are.
I think in one game I'm picking the Jacksonville Jaguars to win the game. That's not throwing shade. I just think I look at the secondary of Detroit. It's still kind of a mess. I mean, they haven't really done anything to improve it.
And the secondary in Jacksonville is something to have confidence in.
It should be better than whatever Detroit's going to be rolling out. I mean, I have way more faith in Darius Williams, who's coming off a Super Bowl win, and Shaquille Griffin than I do whatever's left of Jeffrey Okudah and whoever the other corner is going to be. Like, come on.
Well, we already know. Like the team.
I like Okada.
Okay, wait. Hold on.
Josh Allen.
Wait. Darius Williams is coming off a Super Bowl win. Is Jalen Ramsey backing him up on the other side?
No, of course not. But he is. He was on that team that won the Super Bowl. We can't take that away from him.
Guess who's probably going to see every team's number one? Oh yeah, Darius Williams.
I mean, Shaquille Griffin's on that team too, and he's a good corner.
Yeah, we'll see.
Like I have way more faith in Shaquille Griffin and Darius Williams than I do.
And I have more faith.
Constantly injured Jeffrey Okudah and whoever the other corner.
Constantly injured. It was 1 year. What are you talking about?
He's been injured every season he's been in the league. Like he hasn't survived one season. Like come on.
How many years has that been?
He's been in the league 3 years.
He hasn't.
Yes, he has, dude. He was drafted in 2020. Oh, his 2 seasons. He's played 9 and 1 game so far in his career. So he played 10 career games in 2 seasons. That's not ideal.
Talk about some constantly hurt. They're like, come on, dude.
I mean, 2 seasons in a row, it turns into a trend.
And you're acting like it's like you act like stuff that he can you can't control.
I know.
Rupturing your Achilles.
I know. And then you got Amani Oruwarikiwe. And Mike Hughes is still on this team. No, just stop it. The secondary.
Stop it.
The secondary of Jacksonville is better than the secondary of Detroit. And hey, what do you think? Who has the better secondary going into 2020? Let's go into the comment section here, Mr. Henderson, if you want to write it down here. Who has the better secondary going into 2020, Jacksonville or Detroit? I will be interested to see what people have to say about that. Because I think TJ, you may be disappointed by the results.
I really don't care, but outside of that, there's nothing that screams Jacksonville can win this game.
Yes, I look at their defense. They should be better at stopping the run, dude. Like this should be a much.
Okay, so you look at their. What are you gonna do when Trevor Lawrence bringing out, and put that vaunted Jaguar defense back on the field?
Vaunted, get out of here!
I
never said that. I never said vaunted.
No, you didn't. But
you didn't put words in my mouth.
But you're talking like they're just that much better than the Lions, right?
Yeah,
not to mention. This is Detroit at home, right? Mm-hmm. Detroit at home. That Lions offense is going to be really good. Really good. That Lions offense is not going to be something you can just gloss over.
Oh, okay. I mean, they'll probably be better next season, but
that's all I'm saying.
Really good. They're going to be really good. They're really good offense, please, dude.
Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, T.J. Hawkinson.
TJ
What's
Clark
his name?
Jr., Josh Reynolds, DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams,
Solid.
Khalif Raymond.
Solid. They got
Yeah.
solid pieces on offense.
And they have a pretty solid offensive line. Taylor Decker, Frank Ragnow, Penny Sewell. That's a pretty solid lineup of 3 offensive linemen at the key spots you need them at: guard, left tackle, or right tackle, left tackle, right and center. So
yeah, they're gonna be solid. You are just disrespectful.
And Vaitai is actually a pretty good guard. They actually have a pretty solid offensive line, if they can just get the defense under control in the secondary. But yeah, we'll see. Write down your predictions. How you think Jacksonville season is going to end up. I have them at 4-13, and apparently since I have them beating Detroit, I'm just a hater.
You are just wrong. Just so wrong.
What did you have them 2-15 when the season's almost said? They don't win an extra game. They're 2-15 when you're in yours. Oh no, you had them beating Dallas. So what did you have them like 3-14?
That was weird. I think I got the same record as you. I wasn't keeping track of the games I had from running. I was just
okay.
Yeah, I got them beating Dallas. We both got them split in the Houston series, right? So that's 2. I said Washington can go either way. And I wouldn't be. Philly could go either way. Like, it depends on which Jalen Hurts shows up, right?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. So we both got them winning about 4 games.
Yeah,
so
4 or 5 games.
I still think that'd be a marginal improvement over what they did last season. So, and I don't think if you win 4 games, I don't think that gives you the first overall pick, and so they probably won't get that either.
No, you're still what, top 5 maybe?
For sure. Yeah, top 5 for sure. So we'll see. But yeah, let us know what you guys think about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Put your predictions down in the chat. Also, continue to like, share, and subscribe because we go live.
Before we get up out of here, I just condolences to the family and friends of former Cowboys and Bears running back William Barber. He was found dead in his apartment in Frisco, Texas. He was 38 years old.
Yeah, 38. One of the good guys in the National Football League from all reports. Passed away yesterday.
Condolences to I gotta get his name right.
Jeff Gladnow, cornerback.
No, not him.
Him too, but to his family and friends of Jeff Gladnow, of the Vikings and then the Arizona Cardinals, corner.
I looked him up yesterday.
Car accident over the weekend.
What was his name? I gotta find him. Jordan. No, not him. That's the wrong kid. He was a college basketball player. He went to Washington University in St. Louis. He was 22 years old, and he passed away like a week ago from stomach cancer.
Justin Hardy?
Yeah, there we go. That's him.
Yeah, so Justin Hardy, he passed away on Sunday morning. So our thoughts with his family and his friends, as he battled stage 4 stomach cancer, died peacefully on Sunday. I hate to see it.
Yeah.
I imagine the NBA will do something for him. Either at I don't know if he was going to be one of those players that got drafted, but he's going to be. I imagine the NBA is great about this kind of stuff. So I think they'll do some kind of special moment for him during the NBA draft, just so he can have his moment. Because the NBA is just really good at stuff like this.
There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll be back here tomorrow. Actually, maybe not tomorrow. We'll see. Tomorrow, we're going to try to get all these season preview episodes done. We're going to be talking about the NBA Finals, too. We're going to do that on Monday. We talk about what went down in Game 1 and Game number 2 in the NBA Finals, so you don't want to miss that content. I've been David Huppin. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. It really helps us build our brand. I've been David Huppin. Right there is Mr. TJ Hopkins. And TJ, what would you hit the prom, my friend?
We bring the heat.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it is beautiful in south suburbs of Chicago right now. So hopefully you guys all get to go out and enjoy the weather. I'm going to try to go to a concert tonight, so we'll see how that goes. Otherwise,
try. I thought it was already like set in stone.
Well, I'm going to go, but I don't know how much fun I'm going to have because I'm hurting right now still.
Oh.
I got a couple of juice boxes in me. I'm sure I'll be fine.
Yeah. Pop some painkillers, you'll live.
Yeah, for sure. I'll see you later, buddy. Have a good rest of your night, man.
See you, man.